What's up guys, Justin here of Yugatech. And if you can remember, last year's Samsung Galaxy A71 certainly attracted a lot of attention. And it was by far one of the best mid-range smartphones that the brand released. Now that we got our hands on the upgraded Galaxy A72, we sure have high expectations. But with the Samsung Galaxy A55G around, did Samsung play it safe this time? Let's find out. Heading straight to design, similar to its sibling the Galaxy A52, the Samsung Galaxy A72 sports a playful, minimalistic, matte pastel style that honestly reminds me of Legos. Now I don't know if there's a direct reference to Lego as its color variants all have the word awesome in it.
Everything is awesome.
Probably not. So the one we have is obviously in awesome blue, and there's also awesome black, awesome white, and awesome violet that looks aesthetically pleasing. It has a plastic build which is fine since it still looks robust and it's already hefty enough, weighing 203 grams. This is really for those who are into large phones. Its quadruple rear camera setup is situated inside a rectangular module that seamlessly blends in with the overall simple design, although it still has a small bump that you can minimize by fitting the included jelly case. You can also find here some subtle Samsung branding at the bottom part. Up front, the A72 has a large Super AMOLED Plus display, a hole punch notch for its front camera, and an in-display fingerprint scanner. There's nothing on the left side, but on the right are all the buttons, the power button, and the volume rocker that are all easy to reach. However, people with smaller hands might find it a hassle to press one-handed. Up top is a microphone together with the hybrid SIM tray for either 2 nano SIM cards or 1 nano SIM plus a micro SD card for up to 1 terabyte. Heading over to the bottom, we get a 3.5mm headphone jack, a noise-cancelling microphone, the USB Type-C port, and a downward-firing stereo speaker. I like that it doesn't attract much fingerprint smudges, and did I mention that it's IP67 water and dust resistance too? Well, yes it is, and it's something that we've been wanting to see in mid-range phones for a while now. Although take note that it's not completely waterproof. This means that it can handle being submerged for 1 meter for up to 30 minutes. So it's safe to say that you can take this to the shower with you. Okay, more on its display. Basically, the Galaxy A72 has a similar screen to last year's A71, except now it features a 90Hz refresh rate option. We get a massive 6.7-inch Infinity O Super AMOLED Plus display that's coupled with Corning Gorilla Glass for protection. We get a resolution of 2340 by 1080 pixels and a pixel density of 394 pixels per inch, giving us vibrant colors, deep blacks, and nice viewing angles. Of course, we get that buttery smooth scrolling experience with the 90Hz refresh rate that you can easily switch to the 60Hz automatic refresh rate if you want to save more battery life. The screen can also go up to a total brightness of a surprising 800 nits, which is something that we mostly see in flagship devices. Now audio-wise, its down-firing stereo speaker and earpiece produce averagely good quality. It can fill a room and can get loud enough without getting too distorted when the volume is set to max. The mids and highs are present, but the lows are pretty much absent. Either way, you can always take advantage of its headphone port and Dolby Atmos customization features for better audio quality. Moving on to software, the A72 runs on Android 11, skinned with the latest One UI 3.1. As most of you may know, we're fond of One UI. It's dynamic, familiar, and packs a lot of quirky customization features. Like usual, you get the option to use an app drawer as well as navigate with gestures or the usual buttons, whichever you prefer. There's not much pre-installed apps besides Google and Samsung's own apps, which should be fine. Then there's the improved dark mode that can be scheduled, the Google Discover feed, Bubbles notification, and mostly refinements on the home screen and lock screens look. Of course, Bixby is also present, while other nifty features include digital well-being and parental controls, adaptive eye comfort shield, edge lighting for notifications, one-handed mode, edge panel shortcut, Android Auto, and pop-up view for your multitasking. Out of its 256GB of internal storage, we get a usable 220GB that can be expanded via a micro SD card up to 1 terabyte. But do note that it has a hybrid card tray. As for performance, the Galaxy A72 is armed with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 720G octa-core CPU that's coupled with an Adreno 618 GPU and 8GB of RAM. Interestingly, it's the same configuration as the lower Galaxy A52. Then there's also the A52 5G variant with a higher Snapdragon 750G processor. This honestly places the A72 in a risky spot for savvy consumers. Anyways, we ran it through our standard benchmarks and here are the results we got. It runs smoothly for basic tasks such as video streaming, web and social media browsing, messaging, and even taking pictures. And as for gaming, it can run heavy titles such as PUBG Mobile, Genshin Impact, and Asphalt 9 steadily with some occasional lags or frame drops. For biometrics, you can unlock the device via the in-display fingerprint scanner and the face unlock. The face unlock works pretty well, while the fingerprint scanner requires you to press a few seconds longer for it to unlock. Its position is also leaning more towards the bottom of the screen, so you'll have to adjust your finger lower at times. Connectivity-wise, it's equipped with 4G LTE, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0, NFC, and GPS. Now, keeping this phone running is a whopping 5,000 mAh battery with 25 watts fast charging. And yes, it does come with an adapter. Its capacity is 500 mAh more than its predecessor, so expect to obtain a few more hours from this one. When we ran it through the PCMark's battery test, the A72 completed 14 hours and 27 minutes. Meanwhile, in our standard video loop test, which entails playing a 1080p video on loop at 50% brightness and volume, airplane mode turned on, and earphones plugged in, it yielded a very good 24 hours and 48 minutes. So yeah, the A72 can last you a whole day of moderate use and even with some slight gaming. Charging, on the other hand, takes around an hour and 30 minutes from 0 to 100%. Focusing on cameras now, at the back we get a quad-cam setup composed of a 64-megapixel main, a 12-megapixel ultra-wide, an 8-megapixel telephoto lens, and the smallest one being the 5-megapixel macro shooter right above the LED flash. For selfies, we get the same 32-megapixel front camera as the A71. Checking out some sample shots, the rear camera takes decent photos with sharp details and good colors. However, it can be inconsistent sometimes with the color reproduction as seen on these photos of some mangoes. The scene optimizer was turned off here and I only tilted the phone a little lower and the colors changed immediately. Thankfully, this isn't always the case since we still often get vibrant shots. So we always appreciate having an ultra-wide mode, and for the A72's case, it looks good with some slight fisheye effect at times and the colors tend to appear a little darker than the primary camera. You can also zoom in from 3 times to 10 times to 20 times and up to 30 times with okay quality with a lot of contrast. Portrait mode, on the other hand, works very well with on-point subject background separation that can be adjusted in post. You can also try the food mode, which is dedicated for, well, food photography, and it gives off a nice depth effect with subjects placed in the middle of the frame. For night photography, here's a reference with the night mode turned off. It's noisy and the lights are overblown. And here's when we use the night mode on. I don't know, it didn't show much difference except that we now get sharper details and lesser noise. But noticeably, it's still quite dark. As for selfies, its front camera is quite impressive. Photos look natural under ample lighting with good colors and decent details. Although take a few extra shots as it can be blurry sometimes. You can also take advantage of taking wide selfies which still produces good colors. For other features, there's Samsung's own single take mode, Pro, Macro, Panorama, AR Doodle, Super Slow-Mo, Hyperlapse, and the new Fun mode, which is a partnership with Snapchat, so you get those instant quirky filters. It does require an internet connection to be used. Checking out videos, you can shoot up to 4K at 30 frames per second, but the super steady stabilization is only usable for 1080p at 30 frames per second. You can use the Pro video though if you want more control for specific subjects and scenarios. Alright, now that we've talked about almost everything, let's finally focus on price. This Samsung Galaxy A72 is officially available for 23,990 pesos. And as I've mentioned earlier, it's quite in a risky spot because first, it only got minimal improvements from its predecessor, the A71. Then there's the competition in its price range with other phones offering better performance and cameras. It does, however, give the advantage of being a familiar Samsung device with an IP rating, an attractive design, and a large battery capacity. I'd also like to point out that it's quite outshined by the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G, which almost has similar specs and price to the A72. The A52 5G may have a smaller battery capacity and overall size, but it's got a 120Hz refresh rate, better hardware, and of course 5G connectivity. So I guess Samsung really played it safe for the Galaxy A72 this year. But if you highly prefer large phones but you don't have the budget for a flagship, then definitely consider this. Now I'm gonna pass the question to you guys. What do you think of this Samsung Galaxy A72? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to our channel for more content, hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads, and be sure to visit yugatech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Once again, this is Justin, and don't forget to wash your hands and stay at home.